You're listening to the Black to Business Podcast, an educational podcast providing Black entrepreneurs with the tools and resources to start and grow their businesses. We chat with vetted Black entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and business owners as they provide tips and resources to help take your business to the next level. I'm your host, Monique T. Marshall. Hey there, and welcome to the Black to Business Podcast. I am your host, Monique T. Marshall. And today's solo episode is going to be a little short and sweet, but it's going to be packed with some amazing advice. And I am going to talk about why you're stuck without a game plan and how to move forward. And I wanted to talk about this because I am seeing so many Black entrepreneurs who are feeling stuck, especially right now. The economy is weird, everything feels more expensive, and it's like the rules of business keeps changing every few weeks, every few months. And I'm talking to people who are really putting in the work, like really doing the things, not just saying they're doing the things. And they're feeling like they're still stuck. They're not getting anywhere. And I know you might feel like this too. Oftentimes you feel like you're busy all day, you're checking things off your list, but at the end of the week, you're still sitting there like, what did I actually accomplish? You're doing all the things, you're posting on social media, you're networking, you might even have some clients, but deep down, you know you're not operating at your full potential. And in this climate, that feeling hits a little different because there's no room for wasted energy or really unfocused effort. Maybe you're that person that has 10 different business ideas, but can't seem to focus on one long enough to really make it work. Or maybe you're comparing yourself to that entrepreneur who seems to have it all figured out while you're over here feeling like you missed the memo on how this business thing actually works. And here's what I do know. Most of us didn't grow up with an auntie who owned her own business or their uncle who could talk about profit margins over Sunday dinner. And for some of us, we're really the first ones in our families doing this, which means that we are learning as we go. We're making some of the things up as we go. And sometimes that can have us feeling lost. And so right now, with everything that's going on, we really can't afford to just wing it anymore. But here's what I need you to know. Stuck does not mean broken. It just means that you need someone to show you the way, like that big cousin who's been where you are or been where you're trying to go, and they can give you that real advice instead of that surface level advice what everyone else is giving. So today I really wanted to break down why you're feeling stuck and exactly how to get unstuck. And I'm going to give you some step-by-step advice and not just some of that motivation, because on my solo episodes, I like to really break it down because I always think about when I was starting my business, what's something that I wish I would have known. And at the time, motivation wasn't what I needed. It was the step-by-step things. So let's get into what's really happening. Because once you understand why you're feeling stuck, you can actually do something about it. So the first thing I'm seeing is that so many of us are building in isolation. I see it all the time. And I don't just mean physically, though that is real too. I mean, we're trying to figure out business without having someone who's been there to guide us. So think about it. When your friend's parents own a restaurant, they grow up really understanding what profit margins are, what cash flow is, and how to talk to suppliers. For most of us, we're Googling how to price our services. We're trying to piece together advice from people who don't understand our reality. And right now, with everything that's shifting so fast, that isolation feels even more intense. So the strategies that worked 2 years ago might not work today. And the platforms are changing even more. So customer behavior is different. I'm seeing that almost every day. And we're out here trying to keep up without that actual built-in support system. So here's what's actionable about this. Stop trying to figure everything out alone. Find one person who's building something similar to what you want to build and actually talk to them. Not networking small talk. You're going to get that genuine conversation going about what's working, what's not working. And then I also encourage you to join a community where people are actually sharing actual numbers and some of those concrete strategies and not just those inspiration posts. And then the second thing that's keeping us stuck is we're trying to do everything ourselves. And listen, I get it. When you're starting out, you can't afford to hire everyone. But there's a difference between being scrappy and being inefficient. You're the CEO, the marketing team, the customer service, the bookkeeper, and that's not sustainable, especially not right now when every move counts. And when you're moving at that pace, you're not really thriving. You're just surviving. And here's what you want to do about this today. I want you to list out everything that you did last week. So everything. Then mark which tasks only you can do versus which tasks someone else can do. Even if you can't hire somebody right now, you can start identifying what you need to get off your plate first. And maybe it's scheduling social media posts. Maybe it's responding to basic customer service questions. Just start there. And then the third thing, and this is a big one, is information overload disguised as education. So every day I feel like there's a new expert that's telling you the one thing you need to do to scale. And it's the TikTok for business. That's what I like to think about it. Or it's like the LinkedIn strategy, the email funnels. It's so much. And you're over here trying to figure out how to do all of this, but none of it's working because you're doing it halfway. And then the real issue isn't that you don't know enough. It's that you know too much. And more often than not, it's a lot of random stuff and not enough about what actually matters for your specific business. And you're consuming content instead of actually creating results. So here's your next action step. Pick one marketing strategy for the next 90 days, not 5 strategies that you're going to do, but I want you to pick one, and one that you're going to do really well and get really good at. So whether that's showing up consistently on Instagram, sending weekly emails, or networking in person, pick one and commit to it. And then once you get those results, you can go anywhere else from there. Okay, so now that we know why you're feeling stuck, let's talk about what changes everything. And that's having a plan that actually is built for you. And when I say plan, I'm not talking about some fancy business plan that you write once and then you probably never are going to go back to. I'm talking about that step-by-step guidance you get if your big cousin or your big sister already built that exact business that you're trying to build. The kind where she sits down and she says, okay, first you do this, then you do that, and here's why. And this is the one thing I harp on a lot, especially now, because a lot of advice that's out there is really written for people who have those certain advantages that oftentimes Black entrepreneurs, we don't have. And they assume that you have the startup capital. They assume you have the connections. They assume that you can take these risks without worrying about keeping the lights on. But what if your plan actually accounted for your reality? So what if you designed for someone who's building while they're working their 9 to 5, or they're raising their kids, or while they're working for aging parents? So whatever your situation is, it's really important to build a plan that's for your specific needs. And that's what I mean by a plan that makes sense. It's not about what to do. It's about what to do when you only have 2 hours a week to work on your business. It's about how to prioritize when everything else feels urgent as well. It's also about knowing which steps you can skip for now and which ones you absolutely cannot. And here's what happens when you don't have this kind of plan. You end up chasing every opportunity that comes your way because you don't have a filter. It can be so bad that if somebody asks you if you do websites, you're like, sure. If someone's like, you do consulting, you're like, yep. And then before you know it, you're doing 10 different things and none of them are doing well. But when you have that clear plan, one that's really specific to where you are and where you're going, it becomes your decision-making filter. So when that random opportunity does come up, you can ask yourself, does this fit my plan or is it a distraction? And most of the time, it is a distraction. So what should your plan actually include? 3 things. First, get crystal clear on your one main thing, not 5 things, your one main thing. What's that one service or product you want to be known for? The one thing that when people think of you, they immediately think of that, and then everything else can wait. And then second, know exactly who needs that one thing. Not busy professionals or small business owners. I want you to be specific. So who is this one person? What keeps them up at night? What have they already tried that didn't work? When you can describe your ideal client like they're your cousin, then I think that is when you're on the right track. And so the third thing is you want to have a simple system for reaching out to those people. And I think that system should be consistent. So notice how I said simple, because I'm all about simplicity. Because you don't need to be on every platform or try every strategy. I want you to pick one way to show up consistently where your people already are and then get good at that first. And your plan doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be clear enough that you know what to work on today, this week, and this month. Because when you're clear on your next steps, you stop second guessing every decision. You stop getting distracted by what everyone else is doing, and you also start building something that actually makes sense for you. Now, having a clear plan is one thing, but your mindset can really make or break everything that you have. Because I've seen a lot of people with solid plans, they stay stuck because they're waiting for everything to be perfect before they start. So let me tell you what I'm seeing out here. We've been told that success means grinding 24/7, proving that we deserve to be in the room, working twice as hard for half the recognition. And I hate that one, by the way. And I'm not saying that hard work doesn't matter. It does. But there's a difference between being productive and also proving work. So one moves you forward and the other ones wear you out. And here's the mindset shift that you need. Your worth is not tied to how busy you are. You don't have to earn your success through exhaustion. So some of y'all are out here working so hard to prove you belong that you forget that you already do. And your perspective, your experience, the way you see problems, that's not something that you need to apologize for. That's actually your competitive advantage. Another mindset shift is that your journey doesn't have to look like anyone else's. And I think social media will have you thinking that everyone's having these massive breakthrough moments every single week. But most success is built in those quiet moments. The Tuesday afternoon when you sent that email, the Thursday when you had that conversation, or the Saturday when you worked on your website for 2 hours. And those are sometimes those unsexy moments, but that's actually where the action happens. So I want you to stop waiting for that perfect moment, the perfect strategy, the perfect website. I think about when someone once said, perfect is the enemy of progress. So your first attempt doesn't have to be your final attempt. It just needs to be your first attempt. And then here's some of the things that you can do this week. Catch yourself when that perfectionist voice shows up. So when you find yourself saying, I'll lunch when, or I'll reach out after whatever else you're waiting for, I want you to challenge that. I want you to ask yourself, what's one imperfect action I can take today? And then take it. Okay, so now that you have that clarity on why you're stuck, you understand what kind of plan you need, and you're working on that mindset. Now let's talk about how do you actually start moving. And here's where most people mess up. They try to do everything at once. They want to fix their website. They want to start posting daily. They want to launch a course and network with 10 new people all in 1 week. And that's not moving forward. That's actually moving lopsided sideways. So instead of doing that, I think about maybe let's getting a little surgical with it. So remember that one main thing that we talked about in your plan, and that's where you want to start. So not with your 5 different service offerings, not with every possible way you can make money. I want you to start with that one thing. And if you don't know what your one thing is yet, here's how I want you to figure it out. What do people already come to you for? What do your friends and family ask your advice about? What problems do you solve without even thinking about it? And then start there. And don't overthink it. You can always refine this later. And then next, let's talk about your people. And I don't want you selling to anybody who needs some help. I want you talking to someone specific. So think about the last person who could have really used what you offer. What was their situation? What were they struggling with? What kept them up at night? And that person, that's who you're talking to. Now, here's the part that also trips most people up. You have to actually talk to those people. So not just post on social media, hoping that someone will find you, and not just building a beautiful website and waiting for people to come. You have to have those conversations. So I call it networking, call it market research, or call it being helpful. I don't care what you call it, but you need to talk to people who might need what you're offering. And this doesn't have to be scary or salesy. I know these are some of the things that we talked about with other guests on the past podcast episodes, the most recent ones actually. I want you to start with your existing network. So post on your personal social media. You can say something like, hey, I'm working on whatever your thing is, and I'm curious, has anyone dealt with whatever the problem is? Or you can also reach out to people individually. And you could say something like, hey, I've been thinking about whatever their situation is, and I'm wondering if you'd be open to a quick conversation about whatever their challenge is. And the goal isn't to sell them something in that first conversation. The goal is really to understand their world better so that you can serve them better. So to get into action and get unstuck, here's something that you can do very simple to implement this. Have one conversation, just one. So not 10 networking events, not a whole lunch sequence, one conversation with one person who might need what you're building. And that's how you start moving forward. And I think it's one conversation at a time. So listen, if you have made it this far in this episode, I told you it was going to be short and sweet. You are already ahead of most people. You're not just consuming content. You're really thinking about how to apply that. And that's what matters. So here's what I want you to remember. Feeling stuck is not permanent. It's just information. It's telling you that you're ready for that next level, but you need more intentionality behind what you're doing. So this week, I want you to focus on one thing, not 5 things, one thing. And then pick one action from today that we talked about. And maybe it's defining that one main thing that you want to be known for. Maybe it's having one conversation with someone who might need your help. Maybe it's catching yourself when perfectionism shows up and taking one imperfect action anyway. Whatever you choose, I want you to commit to it. So don't try to do everything at once. Pick one thing and then do it well. And remember, you're not just building a business. You're changing what's possible for those who look up to you, for yourself, for your situation. And that is bigger than just making money. I think that's legacy work. And your path doesn't have to look like anybody else's. It just needs to keep you moving forward, one conversation, one decision, and one action at a time. So thank you so much for tuning into another episode of the Black to Business podcast. If this episode helped you get some clarity on your next step, do me a favor and share it with another entrepreneur who might be feeling stuck. And sometimes we all need that reminder that we're not alone in this. So I will see you back here next week, same time, same place. But until then, keep building boldly and keep pushing the culture forward. Later.